Welcome to another edition of Radio Influencers, a podcast series we're doing for Radio Update. I'm your host, Andy Meadows. It's no secret that I'm a big proponent of radio people using AI to enhance their productivity and efficiency. I've written multiple articles about it. I personally use it every day to help with virtually every aspect of what I do, including this podcast. I recorded on Riverside, which has AI built in to transcribe episodes, create show notes, create reels for social using their AI magic clips, and other built-in editing features. Like I mentioned on last week's episode, the cost of starting a podcast, Riverside has cut down my podcast editing time tremendously. One of the AI sites specifically built for radio that I highly recommend to all of my radio clients is Radio Content Pro. Look for my affiliate link in the show notes or on my consulting site, radiostationconsultant.com, and sign up for a free trial. It uses AI to put stories into radio speak, including teases, outs, phone topics, and it makes digital way less time-consuming because it gives you blog and lots of social copy. I worked with radio groups that had literally no on-air talent blogging regularly before signing up, and now all of them blog daily because of Radio Content Pro. I got a sneak peek at some of their additional innovations that are coming in the next couple of months, and it's incredibly exciting stuff. I'm not the only one who's encouraging everyone who'll listen to utilize AI tools. Billionaire, former Mavs owner, and guy who never shies away from telling you how stupid your business idea is.
Ooh, you know what?
Dumbest marketing move ever. I'm out.
Mark Cuban went on the Austin, Texas-based Your Mom's House podcast with Tom Segura and his wife, Christina Pazitsky, last week and mentioned several AI tools he currently uses regularly. He also gave his honest opinion on the Luka trade, which is worth listening to, but of course not relevant to this conversation. So I thought we'd look at a few of Cuban's AI recommendations and talk about some ways radio people can utilize them. If you have any questions after watching or listening, email them to me at andy@radiostationconsultant.com or editor@radioupdate.com, and I'll answer them to the best of my ability. I want to start with this clip from Mark Cuban on Your Mom's House, talking in general about how he uses AI.
You've also been pretty outspoken about AI, right? Like, it's like, so there's so many possibilities.
Yeah. There's no limit.
There's no limit. I mean, like in our business, there's a lot of, I would say on the creative side, there's a lot of apprehension, resistance. People are not thrilled with the idea.
No, it should be the opposite.
But they're not, because what the reason, one of the main reasons is that, you know, like studios, for instance, could and have had AI do treatments, write-ups of things, where writers then see this as like a threat.
No, because you still need to be able to tell a story.
Yeah.
And you still need to know the beginning, middle, and end.
True.
And you still need to know your audience. And AI can propose a million things in a second, but then somebody's got to go through and decide what they're going to put their money into.
Right.
AI is not going to, hit your bank account and then produce a movie for you, produce a podcast or whatever.
Sure.
I completely agree with what Cuban is saying here. It's impossible for humans to compete with the volume that AI can crank out and the speed with which it can crank out content. But the concerns that Tom Segura mentions here are a lot of the same concerns radio people have, especially on-air talent, when it comes to AI. But the right way for us to apply AI in radio is to do the same thing we do with show prep content. Bad shows rip and read show prep content verbatim. Great shows add to it. The same applies to using AI. Let it create a massive volume of content for you, and then use your radio experience and personality to add to it by personalizing, localizing, and energizing it to fit your show, your market, and your demo. This next clip is Cuban talking about a new AI platform from Google that I've never heard of before, but it's really interesting.
And using the technology, you guys could extend. So have you guys looked at NotebookLM?
No.
Oh my God. So bring up NotebookLM, the podcast feature.
Okay.
It is insane. So literally, like you've got your rundown list. You could feed your rundown list into it and have it go look up things and do summaries of all those things, and then have it create a podcast.
What?
And the podcast sounds like real.
Wait, I don't understand. So like I'm into listening to an advice podcast. I'm listening to Joe Rogan. I'm listening to whatever, murder podcast. and it mashes the three together?
No. So like you just want to do a general podcast like this about all the different topics, like a traditional radio show type thing, right? And you take your rundown list like you guys have. And
right.
you know, like you guys had all your
I see
topics.
what you're saying.
That's
Sorry.
and so all your topics,
Gotcha.
right? And then you send it out and say, do the homework on these with
We should do
what-
that.
and then put it in there, and it'll have these two people talking just like we're talking.
Oh,
but
my God.
and it's insane. It's insane. Like for business, it's great because like you can take your training manuals, your onboarding manuals, all these different things, and because kids particularly they don't want to read, they just want to listen. So you can be walking, taking your walk, or on a bike or whatever, and listening to your training guidelines. That sounds like a regular podcast,
Yeah.
and they make it entertaining. But that sounds kind of scary on one end. But you can start training it to do the things that you want it to do with your voices. So if you wanted to pick the topics and fill in the information you want discussed in this podcast, instead of having one and all the shows the way you have now, you can add 1,000 of them.
That's amazing.
Yeah, and I mean it's just
What's this? This is an actual audio example of it?
Ever feel like you're just drowning in information?
Oh, tell me about it.
these are the two
We're talking
people.
research papers, articles,
Yeah.
like even a
It's
whole
our show,
shelf
Tom.
of books on one topic.
Right.
And you just need to like get a handle on it all.
It's a struggle.
Yeah. And there's got to be a better way.
Oh, there definitely is.
Well, that's what we're diving into today.
Okay.
NotebookLM.
Interesting.
Oh my God.
It's this
Zillow.
experimental AI research assistant thing Google's come up with.
Really fascinating stuff.
Yeah, it's not just
I
about
mean,
organizing
literally,
all
so you
that
know,
data.
these are not real people.
Right. These
No.
are AI voices.
These are AI voices that could be your
Let's do
voice.
a YMH one.
we should do a
with
full
our
episode.
stupid topics.
Yeah.
When you're in London, we just put out this.
Yeah.
By the way, I cannot recommend Your Mom's House more. I love the podcast. Tom Segura and his wife, Christina Przitsky, two famous comedians that are both hilarious. I've gotten a lot more into their comedy now that I've become a dad, and I can relate to a lot of their parenting stuff. But it's a great podcast, and radio people will particularly enjoy it because they do some things that are kind of like benchmarks and features that we do in radio. But getting back to what they're talking about there, NotebookLM was totally new to me, and I was really impressed with that clip they played on the show. So I experimented with it a little bit myself by uploading my From Broadcast to Podcast ebook to have it create a 2-person original podcast episode about it. Here's the first 30 seconds of that.
Okay, so today we're diving into podcasting.
Podcasting.
Yeah, but not just like a general overview.
Right.
We're using Andy Meadows' ebook.
From broadcast to podcast.
Yes, From Broadcast to Podcast. And the idea is we're looking at this from the perspective of someone,
Like you.
someone like you.
With existing communication skills.
Exactly.
And really just trying to see how those skills can
can translate.
translate, and even thrive
Thrive in a new medium,
in
right?
a new medium.
That's so good. It's a little scary, to be honest with you. Some would argue that it's better than this podcast. Obviously, that was just a clip. If you want to hear the full 12-minute, 2-person episode, it cranked out in less than a minute. Email me and I'll send it to you. It'll save you the $7 I charge for the ebook. But what Mark Cuban said in there about using your voices to create thousands of podcasts hits on another way radio can use AI. Training it on your voice opens up a ton of possibilities. Using it to fill in for vacation or sick days, putting your show in tons of other languages you don't personally speak, creating intros for song requests you didn't take, and a whole laundry list of other things. Believe me, I share your concern. Some of the radio stations I voice have asked about cloning my voice and using that instead to voice their station, and I always respond the same way. Absolutely. We can talk about it, and the price starts at X. It's a lump one-time fee, but over time it ends up being much cheaper than my monthly fee because it's just a licensing agreement for my voice, and there's no additional work I have to do. In this next clip, they're talking in general about technology advances.
It feels like the natural thing for anybody in business to do is figure out how AI can help these different parts,
Yes,
right?
I mean, look what you're using right now, right? So, you guys have been in radio in the industry forever,
Yeah.
right? And think going back when you had your first, it used to be they played records.
Yeah.
And there was a DJ that just spoke. And then all of a sudden there were the different playback systems, right?
Yeah.
And then you had editing, and then, the DJs were editing right on the spot, different songs. Technology's influenced every industry always.
Obviously, Mark doesn't know all the radio terms because that's a little inside baseball, but his point is something I've said and other radio guys whose opinions I respect, like Tracy Johnson and Howard Kruger have said something similar right here on this very podcast. Every time technology advances, there's pushback. When we started using music scheduling software, there were holdouts who literally argued it was better to do it by hand. When automation systems came out, there was massive pushback on those, especially when they started incorporating voice tracking. But companies that refused to purchase and use automation systems instantly fell way behind their other radio competitors. That's exactly what's happening right now with AI. On this next clip, they talk about the importance of learning AI and kind of the age gap, and we'll get into that.
It's no different now, but the difference is like going back to PCs and then software and going from analog to digital, you could try and kind of extrapolate where things were going.
Mm-hmm.
With AI, there's no way you would have anticipated what we just heard.
Right.
You know, and it goes into a zillion different directions.
Are you investing heavily in AI?
Yeah, I mean, but more importantly, just trying to learn it.
Learn what the possibilities are.
Right, because like for kids, they're going to grow up, this will be native to them.
Yeah.
For us, we've got to put in the effort to learn. But like on my Instagram feed now, it used to be, you know, sports, business, but whatever. Now it's AI hack, new AI software, because it's changing so rapidly.
That is such a good point. You know, in a few years, since it's native to them, imagine how talented young people who've grown up with AI will be at incorporating it into their workflow. So for those of us who didn't grow up with it, we have to put in the effort to learn it, which I know can be overwhelming. I'm interested in this stuff, and it still seems like a lot of work to stay up on it. The key is to start with one or two platforms, get comfortable with those, and then move on to the others. Final thought. If a guy like Mark Cuban, who's worth over $5 billion and clearly has the money to pay people to do anything he needs them to do, is personally utilizing AI tools, then why aren't we all using AI? I've said this before, and I will keep saying it to radio people who refuse to embrace AI tools. AI will not take your job. Someone who uses AI will. With how deeply radio is cut, especially at the local level, it is impossible for radio employees to do everything that needs to be done at a radio station without working 80-plus hours a week, unless they utilize AI in every aspect of the business to improve their workflow process, help them write commercial copy, blog on the station website, create innovative on-air content, produce podcasts, schedule social posts, generate sales proposals, and so much more. Another major time-saving suggestion I would add is to fully embrace a data-driven approach to selecting music and on-air content, because that also saves hours and hours every week. What do you think? How are you utilizing AI at your radio stations? Email me at andy@radiostationconsultant.com or editor@radioupdate.com and let me know. As always, if you have some thoughts you'd like to share on this or any other hot radio topic, submit an article about it by emailing submissions@radioupdate.com. Thanks for listening, watching, and reading. We'll be back next week with a new episode of Radio Influencers. Radio Influencers is a Radio Update production. New episodes are released on Tuesdays at 10 a.m. Eastern.